Hello everyone. Today, the new patch came out. This is the second batch of the new maps, and along with the new maps came a balance changelog. So, if you didn't know, or you just forgot about it, I created a group that's called the Wargame Generals, and the goal of the group was to be sort of a better martial forum. And what it was I handpicked people to join this group to discuss balance changes and to create a kind of a place for discussion about balance and about units and stuff like that, and just be a controlled forum that I could really kind of fuel the fire when it comes to a good topics with a lot of good debates and stuff like that. So I did that. We got together, all of us. I'm not going to say everyone, but we got mostly everyone together, and we created a very large list that our goals were to buff Commonwealth and decrease some of the effectiveness of a lot of competitive 1v1 units and a lot of competitive team game units. And we wanted to buff units that were like slightly popular, and we wanted to make them better for the price. So we definitely wanted to nerf some prices. Just a lot of minor tweaks that makes the game a lot more just better in our opinion. Definitely better competitive playable, definitely better team game playable, and we made the list. We revised it, I want to say 7 times. I think the final was list number 7, and we sent it to Eugene. Some of these changes from our list went into the final patch log, this list here that we're seeing, and I'm happy that some of our changes got accepted, but I'm also very disappointed on the amount of changes that we suggested that didn't go through. And I'm going to talk about those, and I'm going to talk about this list we're seeing right here, and I'm just going to kind of go over my thoughts and feelings about it. So, first off, they fixed the SU-25, that's great. And this is starting the actual list here. So first, we have every transport helicopter is now available in motorized decks with the exception of the Marine reserved ones. So this means that some helos, I'm not quite sure which, maybe some attack helos weren't available in motorized, which this might just be like small changes. I'm pretty sure motorized has access to most of all the helos in the faction or coalition or whatever, so this might just be a small change, something like that. BMP1 Grom's accuracy was buffed. This is something from our list. And yeah, we wanted to buff the BMP1s, and I guess FLX liked it, so he kept that. This is the OSA AKM missile accuracy buff 5%. This was also in our list, and I guess he liked it as well. Looking forward to that change because it's definitely well deserved for something that's 65 points, and I'm happy that got in. So recon, first off, the Chinese ZTQ-62G gun noise increased by about 20%. Now, if you didn't know what gun noise is, that is a stealth unit. Specifically, the only units in the game besides infantry are recon units. Recon units have a certain aspect level of stealth, and it makes them harder to detect. And now I'm guessing whenever the ZTQ-62G shoots, it will reveal itself when it shoots. Now, I don't know personally. I haven't played the patch. I haven't played against ZTQs yet, but I'm guessing that it will reveal itself when it shoots. And if so, then that makes the unit much easier to play against, and I like that. Our change in the change that we suggested was just a 10-point price increase. But this might solve the issue. That sounds interesting, but I'm not sure how I feel about it because I haven't played against it. British Gazelle, I think this is just a bug fix, or just a speed increase. Danish Wildcat price increased 5 points. This was also in our list. Japanese Hachin Anishiki increased from 25 to 30. We had a nerf for this that was 10 points. We wanted to go to 35 points and be direct comparison to the BRDM3. I'm not really happy about this. I think it definitely deserves a 10-point change, not 5 points, because I don't think it solves the issue with buying like 6 of them at the start and just throwing them everywhere. Though I am happy to see a change, I don't think 30 is where it should be priced, because it still straight up beats BRDM3s in a 1v1, and the BRDM3 is 35 points for some reason. But yeah, I still like to see this go to 35 points. But we'll see in the future. So the French VBL Mistral removed from mechanized decks, or the Eurocore mech, or French mech or whatever. This was also in our list. I'm glad to see this made through. This was a really pain in the ass unit to play against mech decks, and it's just a straight nerf to those decks. Having Wield A is just something a mechanized deck shouldn't have. So yeah, I'm happy to see that go through. That's great. So here's the first really controversial really gripe I have about this list. Soviet Gornostroki and Gornostroki 90 now have access to BTR line of transport. This is the most important change for me on this list. And I don't like it at all. I don't think this is our change log, we wanted all light infantry, so every infantry that's considered light moves to regular training to shock. That was just to buff a lot of nations who had not great shock infantry, and just to give them more of a fighting advantage, because we didn't see any other way to buff them besides that. So we did that, and I guess this is FLX's take on buffing those units. And I don't like this at all. I think this is terrible mistake, and I'm going to try to go into detail on this as much as possible, because Euromod did the same thing. They tested out Gornostroki and transports. I played Euromod for a bit, and it was ridiculous. And having access, if you didn't know, it's BTR 80, BTR 80A, and BTR 90. And that is insane. I don't like, coming from me, I extensively play USSR in ranked. I use a card of Gornostroki 90 in almost every one of my my ranked decks. I love them to pieces, but I definitely don't want this. I don't want BTR 90s filled with Gornostroki 90s, and then I can't do anything to take the town. The Gornostrokis are specifically the best light infantry there is. There isn't any other light infantry that's as good as Gornostroki, just because Gornostroki have something like 26 AP on their AT, and it has a pretty decent range, and that's insane. So having a motorized vehicle, having a kind of a ATGM type unit, but it's also, the ATGM hurts a lot, and it also can defend itself against infantry. I don't like this in transports at all, especially wheeled transports. This is the worst part about this list for me. I don't think this should be in the game. I think they deserve to be in helos because they are strong individually, and giving them a transport equal as strong as them, I think it's crazy. And I really dislike this change. I definitely think if they wanted to, they shouldn't even have changed it. If they weren't willing to do the veterancy, I don't think they should have changed this at all. Because now it's going to be cancer. It's going to be literal cancer, having people just drive their BTRs, drop off their Gornostroki, and any type of ATGM infantry that has more than 2 men is extremely hard to get out of a town without putting in at least 3 times the amount of points, 4 times the amount of points that the unit itself costs. So if you didn't understand that, think about Eric's team's tankish Shashals, and think about how many points you have to spend to get them out of those buildings. Now you just add the fact that Gornostroki are a 10-man squad with an AT weapon. It's that hurts extremely, hurts really bad, and it has an LMG, and it can defend itself versus infantry. So I really dislike this change. I think this is fucking awful, and I would really like to see this get reverted back. I don't want this. I really think this is bad, and I think it's just going to be just hell in 1v1s. I don't like this. I like that it comes in helos, and the helos are big and they're slow, but they're easily counterable. This is just, I don't like this. I don't know what else I can say about it, but yeah, I'll just move on. So light rifleman price reduced to 10 points. Sure, whatever, that's fine. British Milan 2 availability reduction. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Not really. These are both no one really uses light riflemen anyway, especially the non-90 ones, so it's not going to change anything. This is just sure, that's, I don't know what it was. Canadian Highlanders price reduced to 20. So this is another light infantry change, which is fine. Um, I'm fine with it. I believe these guys have the Carl Gustav M2, if I can recall, and again, Highlanders 90s. I'm fine with this. They have access to the Grizzly and the Bison. I just don't like transport for light infantry, ground transports. I really don't. This is not so much, even though they have the Erics. The range on the Erics is definitely beatable, so you can, shoot it from range. But with Gornostroki, it has like 1900-meter range, so it's definitely not something fun to play against. Here's another very controversial thing that people are gonna call me a fanboy for whining about, but these two changes make no sense, and I'm gonna kind of explain why. So, I don't know where to start on these two changes. There's no basis for these changes. There's no reason for. Concat 5, I believe, is on both these tanks, which is an ERA type, just a variant of ERA the Russians use. I'm not trying to get realistic here, but the reason that the T90s were priced. Okay, so I guess I could show you this better in game, but the Leopard 2 A5 and the T90. There's a 10-point difference between the two. Excuse me, the T72B, if people want to be really specific. And the difference is an HGM and autoloader, and the BU has 5% less accuracy on stabilizer and main gun, and also the top armor and side armor, I think. But changing these armor values means that the base T90 doesn't need to be 175 points. Like the top armor made the extra 5 points worth it because it could withstand clusters, it could withstand GR7s, and F1s and stuff like that. That was the reason why the T90 was 175 points in my mind. Because if it didn't have that top armor, then it would just be a 170 point Leopard. In my opinion, the autoloader, it's kind of hard to price an autoloader. But the 5% accuracy also matters, even though the Leopard 2 is a big size. The 5% accuracy does, play a part. So this change, there's no reason behind it. It's just a change, and it's not that big of a change, I guess. They're trying to kind of, I'm not really sure what the reason is behind it. Again, but I don't see the point why the T90 costs 175 points and the BU costs 180 points, when the HEGM is worth 5 points, but the other 5 points are unaccounted for now that it's lost its advantage in top armor. But yeah, I'm not sure, because T90 or excuse me, a BU will lose to an M1A2, like hands down, not even close. But yet it's the same price. It doesn't really make sense. So here is the next change. This is something from our list. We increased the optics on the Chomaho from poor to medium. Kind of a small change, but it's definitely, we didn't want to do too much on that tank line. That requires a lot of time and a lot of testing to really rebalance a whole North Korean tank line. It's something we wanted to do, but we weren't sure we would be able to do. So yeah. As we're moving on, this is the OSA. I'm not quite sure about this. I think this is the 30-point OSA. If I'm correct, I think this is the 30-point OSA, which is kind of weird. It loses radar and it gains 2,800-meter range for 30 points. I'm not sure what the accuracy is on these. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of in disagreement with it because I don't understand these changes. Like, I don't understand the logic behind many of these changes. I don't think honestly, I don't think FLX should be like, he should be discussing some of these changes with some people besides himself, because I don't understand some of the. There's a lot of pointless changes in here, and I'll get to that later. And there's a lot of good changes that I think are interesting, but I'm not quite sure what this one does and what it's meant to accomplish and what it's like. I should probably look at the unit before I continue, because I'm not quite sure what it is now. But I'm not really sure what this does, what the reason behind it is, so I'm just going to move on. So this is probably to target against 10v10 big games, stuff like that, with spamming Eurograins, which is fine. You know, I don't really care about it. Sure. The base Tunguska was increased availability, which that's fine. No one uses the base Tunguska anyway, besides Eastern Bloc. So that's a cool buff to Eastern Bloc in a sense. Well, it says Soviet, so maybe the Eastern Bloc. I don't know. These patch notes weren't written very well, but maybe, fuck, I don't know. Maybe the Eastern Bloc Tunguska was buffed as well. I don't know. But you know, that's just a small increase. It doesn't really matter. So here's the rework of the ADATs and the buffs to AA. This is another kind of thing we touched on in our patch list. We wanted to buff them, but we didn't like. Our goal with Commonwealth was to make them playable, but not competitive playable, because we were scared that if we overbuffed them, that they would be a big issue, and we didn't know how long the time would be until the next patch. So our goal was just to moderately buff them. Now, FLX took this as a pretty much a decision just to go nuts with these AA changes. And while I'm fine with it, you know, it's definitely his decision. I think some of these changes are a little overzealous for sure, because we worked really hard on to make sure that we didn't buff them too much. You know, we wanted to buff them in moderation. You know, so I'm not quite sure. I would really like to have definitely tested some of these new changes, because these are big changes. These are big buffs. Definitely like to test these and play with these, but you know, that we weren't given the opportunity to test any of these changes, so maybe in the future we can. So first off, the British Star Streak missile increased from 55 to 65. That's a 10% buff. HE increased to 5 to 6. Next is the missile ground reduced to 2625. And the missile range versus helicopters increased to 3150. Also, the plane increased from 2275 to 2450. The Stormer is now available in armor decks, and it went up in price. So this is a pretty large buff. I mean, no one's really shooting ground targets with this thing because the AP is so bad. But this buff alone is very, very substantial. It's very good, and it's almost better than a chap, because it has high accuracy. 65% is quite high, good damage, and it also has pretty good range. It's almost better than a chap. I'm not sure what the ammunition is on it. I think it's like 12. I think it's 12. Maybe it's 12 or 8. But yeah, definitely a big buff on the Stormer part. I think it's definitely good buff. It's not. It doesn't look very overzealous though. It looks pretty nice actually. And available on armor decks makes Commonwealth armored a bit more packs a bit more punch, and yeah, it looks good. And the price, 5-point price increase is, you know, whatever. The mortar carrier ammo loadout reduced. I think this is just a bug fix because it had way more ammo than other 81 millimeter mortars. I'm not sure which one, what caliber. Track Drapier availability. This is not the FSA, so this is the IR one. So it got buffed. That's quite nice, having a small buff to that. But nothing else, I believe. Yeah, just that. The Track Drapier FSA range to planes increased from 3,500 to 3,850. That's pretty. That's you know, that's a 350 meter range change, which I'm not quite sure what other systems have that same range, but yeah, it's a good buff. I think our change was speed. I think it was too slow. I think that was the issue with the Track Drapiers. It was too slow, and the availability was bad. So I think we buffed the availability and we changed the speed. But this, I guess this is just as fine, just making the range a little bit higher. And the service date moved it into Cat A decks, I guess, and price increased by 5 points. So yeah, that's fine. I would like to have seen availability buff as well, and maybe 60 points, because I believe it has 60% accuracy, so maybe 60 points and kind of a maybe 55 kilometer range, or excuse me, speed, but that's fine. British MLRS now uses cluster ammunition. Uh, this is something I kind of wanted to avoid. I wanted this is a buff, sure, but I don't think cluster artillery is very fun game balance wise. But this makes Commonwealth definitely good and kind of a strategy overall gameplay. It's definitely very good. Um, and I mean, it doesn't really break anything. I just don't like to see more clusters in the game, I guess. Um, but yeah, I guess we can move on. So this is the big ADATS change. And when FLX talked to me about this change a while back, I was kind of, at first I really liked it, I think. And then when I kind of thought about it more, I really didn't like it. Um, and I'm still not sure how I feel about it. It could be, it's kind of like a new super unit for NORAD, which it's not something I really like the idea of having, because they have they have a lot of super units already with the Nighthawk, the Longbow, the M1A2. They have a lot of really great units. But this is a new one, into the mix. So this is it's prototyped, which is very interesting. It's not in mixed anymore, so it's kind of a nerf to mixed mech if people are still using it. Availability reduced to 1 card of 4, and its side armor was buffed to 2, and the accuracy increased to 70%. That's a huge change. I believe right now it's at 45%, so that's a huge increase of accuracy. The range is now 3325, so that's the same as a Tunguska. It's also plane increased by about 175 meters, right? Yeah. So plane range increase, not too much. It's okay. The price was increased by 20 points to 110 points. This is 20 points cheaper, 10 points cheaper than a Patriot, which is a big buy. It's 10 more points than a Tunguska, and I'm really not sure about it. I I think this is a gimmick. I think this is just like, how do I explain this to where where people can understand it? I think this is like a sucker unit to buy. It's so expensive. This isn't going to see play in any competitive games because it's so expensive and it's so vulnerable. Like, the armor change doesn't do anything to the unit. I'm going to buy a MiG and I'm going to snipe your ADATs. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to buy a BIS, I'm going to buy a rocket plane. It still dies to all those cheap units, you know? And though it has good range, 70% accuracy, there's no way in hell I'm driving my 110-point ADATs to go shoot your tank at 2,000 meters. There's no way I'm doing that, you know? Because I'm not. That's 110 points. That's almost a Patriot, you know? Would you want your Patriot up at the front lines, right next to your tanks, you know, shooting at planes? No, you wouldn't. And that's not what I'm gonna do with my ADATs. I'm not gonna do it with my Tunguska either. And the fact that this can shoot at ground targets is I don't like this this huge accuracy increase either. I mean, it's going to be good to shoot at helos. They're going to snipe them. I'm not sure what the HE is, but it's going to be great versus planes as well if it gets in range. But I really hope people don't expect this to be a unicorn unit that's going to, you know, change the game. It's definitely a big buff, but it is 20 points shy of, or excuse, why do I keep saying fucking 20? It's 10 points shy of being a Patriot, and a Patriot affects the game immensely, and I'm not sure this has the same kind of role. You know, I'm not going to be scared because this guy has an ADATS. Now, I haven't played against it. I'm not sure how the accuracy, but I think I don't see this as being too scary. I think it's just kind of a, people are going to pay for this and just realize that you're not going to throw this, you know, because the availability is also really low, and it's very lightly armored, so it's going to die pretty quick if anything, you know, touches it. So next is the Soviet BTR-80 availability increased by 1 step. Not sure what the reason is behind this. I think you can get 3 cards of BTR-80s now. Not sure the reason behind this. at all, actually, and they're completely missing out on North Korea. North Korea should be the one with BTR-80 transports. So not quite sure what this is in there for. Kind of another pointless reason, like no reason change. Yeah. So this next one, this was, I believe, in our change log. This is the base BMP1 that has doesn't have the HEGM. This got reduced to 10 points. That's fine. BMP1 availability increased by 1 step. Sure, for transports. Sure, there's not. These are all just availability buffs, which I didn't really know was an issue before, but I guess it was. Or maybe it's just another crazy change. All these got buffed availability wise, which again, I don't really see the reason behind it, but I'm sure, why not. So this was straight from our list here. This was an ammunition double. We had another change as well. I don't really remember what it was, but it was I think it was an accuracy buff by like 10% or something, because this doesn't really change anything. The warrior's still bad. It just can be bad and shoot more, I guess. So yeah. The Vickers availability reduced to 1 card, which was also in our change list, but I don't really remember why it was. But he did it, and he buffed the optics, which is also pretty nice, I guess. It's definitely happy to see a kind of a buff and a nerf at the same time. So he reduced the price on the pink. This is just a Wildcat without the optics and stealth, I believe, so that's completely fine. This was also on our list. These two. South Korean KFV price increase. I believe this is the one with the grenade launchers. So yeah. The Polish Mi-2 removed from mechanized, Skull removed from mechanized armor support decks. This is just fixing the command infantry from mech armored and shit like that. Polish Mi-24D added to armored support and mechanized, I believe, so you can use it as a transport now. I think this was in our list. I probably don't even care, but this was also in our list. A small buff to the Skull because it was really underperforming. This was in our list, but it was a 10-point increase, but 5 points is, fine, I guess. The DAP was just really great at multi-roll. It had medium optics, so it could spot blind helos a lot better. And, yeah, definitely 60 points, really too cost-effective there. I would still argue the fact that this needs to go to 70, but, that's whatever. Danish Lynx, this is removed, so now General Mech can't have a helo transport, and that's about it. I think that's just the whole reason behind that. Next is the West German bow availability got buffed. Who really cares about this? So MiG-29 got a 5-point price buff. Not much to say about that. That's completely, sure. Doesn't really change anything. It just makes it a little bit cheaper. American F-111E and F. This is the bomber and the cluster F-111 variants. Both really suck. And ECM isn't the reason they suck. It's the bombs. So this really doesn't change anything except makes them harder to kill. And they're sucky, and there's no reason to still take these at all. So don't take them. They're really bad. This was also on our change log. This is the reason behind this was to be able, the Jaguar to be able to fire both missiles in the same run, because previously it would only shoot one missile, its gun, and then the second missile wouldn't shoot. So hopefully that solves the issue. Not quite sure. I have to play with it. So the the Anzac F-18 Hornets price reduced. We had this on our list, but it was only by 10 points, not 15. And the IDS and the A Hornet are the same exact plane, but this one I guess got a 5-point buff more for some reason. But yeah, they're kind of overpriced anyway, so it's good to see these prices change. Not sure what this is. I think this is a shitty ASF, I believe, so I'm not even going to talk about that. I forgot the dollar signs. West German Tornado, we had this on our list as well. and this is exactly the same change. This is French Mirage SF5F, excuse me, price reduced by 10 points. So that's pretty much in lieu of every other thing. So making the bombers a little bit more cheaper. The 5F wasn't very great anyway, because of the bomb spread, and making it cheaper is, I guess, just better. So that's the end of the list. That's all there was. And when you kind of look at it all, it's all nice. But it's missing so much. It's missing so many minor changes that really affect the game, at least in 1v1 and competitive play, and it's missing a lot. So I'm really disappointed, because we spent a lot of hard work. A lot of people put a lot of time into our change list that we made, and we really kind of pushed that forward as much as we could, and we only saw tidbits of it, really, and that really sucks, because we know it's going to be another 3-month-long wait, 2-month-long wait until we can see another balance patch, and that really sucks for me, because it really makes the game stale. I mean, there's none of these changes really make me, wow, I want to go, playing ranked. I want to go, play this in a tournament, anything like that. Besides, the obvious things I want to try out, like the ADATs and the Star Streak, and I already know how these are, and I already know it's fucking cancer. It's I'm really disappointed. I think there could have been a lot more, because whenever we hurried one weekend, I think we spent about 5 hours putting together a list one night, and we were hurrying because I was told that we need to hurry because he had to submit a version to be complete. So that I want to say that was a month ago. So we hurried, we finished our list, and we sent it off, and we didn't really hear anything back from it. We didn't have any more discussions about it. We just we were happy with our final product, and we thought we spent a lot of time. Every change we went on our change log, we spent, we had to be, first off, all in agreement that it was the correct change. We went through every other possible change. We went through each country, almost every unit, and talked about a lot of hot topics. We discussed it all, and we did that with some of the best players in the world. We put them all together, and really kind of everyone spoke their mind about whatever, and we all went into agreement on. So everything on our list was made from agreement. Everyone ran through the list, said yes or no, the importance of the changes, stuff like that. So we spent a lot of time on it, and it really sucks for there to be tidbits. Though I'm happy, it's definitely a step in the right direction. I feel really disappointed that that we couldn't see some of the big changes. Some of these changes that we're really pushing for, that really makes the game a lot more exciting in all of our opinion. That's there's nothing else I can do about it except wait. Maybe we can see some more of our list in the future coming up. But I think this list is definitely a step in the right direction towards very interesting gameplay. There's a lot of things I want to try out, and I'm going to be streaming that. But and talk of the new maps, I'm probably gonna upload a video of talking about the new maps, playing, gameplay wise, stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope I kind of addressed my points, got everything. Maybe I forgot something that I didn't really talk about. Maybe I missed something, but that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and check my stream out if you haven't seen it. I'll maybe put a link in the description if I remember. But yeah, see you guys in the next one.